Hey, how's it going?
Hey. Good.
Deciding whether or not to do virtual background.
When you get the microphone?
Like a week or so ago. pretty new. What do you think? Does it look pretty stupid?
No, it's fine.
Hey, Trevor. How's it going?
Realized I was muted.
Yeah, I was just about to tell you. Sorry.
I am not yet used to Zoom. We use Meet for everything at work.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes.
Google Hangouts, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they call it Meet for the business class version of what used to be called G Suite.
Yeah.
I forget they just did a major rebranding like a week or two ago, so I don't know that it's actually called Meet anymore.
Cool. So you have things you want to share, whatever. At whatever point when you start up, I will just give you control and allow you to screen share.
Okay.
From what I can remember, it's like fairly similar to Google Meet. So
okay.
Hopefully you'll be good.
I've been kind of messing around with it on my machine, like between two laptops, just to make sure things are okay. But definitely not part of like another account where someone else is giving me the rights to share. So I imagine it'll be pretty similar to what I had. So that should be okay.
Yeah. So for Tegan, mostly because this is a new thing, while we're just hanging out, and this is before anybody gets started, I'm going to throw up some Stack Overflow. And if you want to jump in on this, all you have to do is go to this link right here, and you can code with me to solve this dude's problem. I've got three Stack Overflow issues here that we can all look at together. Sure. So this is
That's
new.
A cool idea.
Yeah, Tegan, I haven't done this before. This is what I was pointing as a.
Can you copy and paste that in the chat?
Yeah, I was looking for the chat controls, and now that I'm sharing my screen, my chat's all jacked. Oh, where the heck is my chat? Are you in, here, I'll just throw it into the Slack. Can you chat for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I can't believe I don't see my chat controls. Maybe I can't chat while screen sharing. That's kind of lame though.
I think you can. I think it's like, you get that title bar on your screen. It's like somewhere buried in there.
Yeah. Boy, that's a bummer. Oh, cool. I can annotate. Oh, I guess it's just participants, huh? No? Maybe. Oh, I should admit, Matt. Whoops. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need that open. Sorry, Matt. I didn't see it. Hey, Tegan, you know what? I wonder if I can make you a co-host. No, I would probably have to have done that earlier. Yeah, darn. It would, because since you are a shift employee, I can make you co-host. I'll have to keep that in mind for next time. So yeah, I still don't see my chat abilities. This is really kind of a bummer. Is the music still playing?
It is not.
What? You can only do one thing? Oh, this is lame. So all you can do is see my screen, eh?
Yep.
It's kind of a bummer. Chat, there's chat right there. Yes, nice. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Can you do like at to talk to, like, make a big message in the chat here at here? Maybe not.
I think the chat only goes to who's here already though too, so we'll have to repost.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, so what I'm what I'm going to start doing to kind of fill time as we sit and kind of wait for stragglers to come in is random Stack Overflow problems with a joint. It's a synchronous text editor essentially. So so this is like, I mean, this is a silly question, and it's probably gone already. I sniped it really fast off of new and interesting Stack Overflow problems, but I can't imagine this is on there for more than 10 seconds because it has a pretty obvious answer, and who knows what language this person is even talking in, but whatever. I've got two others, so it's kind of fun to just mess around and give people something to do. Now, the other thing.
You're just trying to crowdsource your stats. I get
Yeah. Yeah, that would be dope. So the other thing, well, two things real quick, Trevor. So here, let me turn off. If you guys can't hear this, I'm not going to hear it either. So the other thing, Trevor, is so how we typically do it is I will go into like maybe a 5-minute spiel about what Des Moines Web Geeks is and what DSM.js is. I'll give Matt a chance to just say a thing about DSM.js, and then I will talk a little bit about Shift. I mean, they're the company that's helping out or allowing us to use their Zoom account. But I mean, they're not doing anything more than that. But I'll just say who Shift is real fast.
Yeah.
I got another person to admit. Yeah. Next time, Tegan, I'm giving you co-host ability so you can admit people to the room, because my attention now is going to have to be kind of divided. But whatever. What were you saying, Matt?
Just if you don't need to necessarily turn it over to me for DSM.js, we don't have much that will. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you'll cover it just so we're collaborating and all that. That's fine.
Sounds good. Yeah. So the other thing okay. So before we go any further, Trevor, do you have any questions, or do you think you'll be good?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good.
Is there any participation or prompting or pacing or anything you need from us?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
I'm interested to see what happens. I'm going to try and do a partial screen share. And last night it was a little bit finicky, but then I think by the end I got it to where it was acceptable. So I may have to do some weird screen sharing.
Let's try it right now.
We'll see.
Let's try some stuff right now.
One other thing I might mention: the light right behind you at the end of the peak of your ceiling.
Does that mean?
Yeah, it gets real dark if I turn that off.
Okay, I didn't know what options you had, so okay.
I don't have the ability to just turn that one off.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
I don't know. I do wonder if I do one of those virtual backgrounds. I wonder if that would kill that.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, most of the time your head's going to block it anyway, but it's just kind of one of those like window behind you type lighting situations.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so Trevor, you're also going to have a whole bunch of controls because I just now gave you host control.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to just try sharing real fast?
Yes.
Just make sure everything's going to work for you?
Yep. I am sharing right now. How does that look?
It looks dope on our end. Yeah, I mean.
Okay. Let me try the thing that was causing me problems. Yeah, this is looking good. It was essentially eating my mouse clicks, and so that was going to be kind of tricky. Yeah, this is looking fine. Cool.
Okay.
I'll stop.
I wonder if you then can relinquish host. So I think in order to do that, you need to, so you'll see a button called participants.
Yes.
Click on that and then find Justin Stevens, which is me, out of there.
Yep.
And click on more. I'll give you a little drop down.
Make host.
You got it.
All righty.
Okay.
You've got it, I think.
Yeah. Yep. I'm the host again. Awesome. Okay.
Interesting that the recording continues even with the host switches like that.
Yeah. What I'm really going to be interested in is this next part that I'm going to tell you guys about. So I floated this out a tiny bit on Twitter, see if I can get anyone's input or interest in it from a broader community. And so here's my idea. And we don't have to do this right now. I'm just throwing this out there, something that is a possibility. So I have the controls and the ability to, to split everyone out into a breakout session, into a bunch of rooms. And I can quickly and easily do that with Zoom controls, and I can split everybody up into like 2 people per, 3 people per, whatever, and it's just random. Sit them in there for 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, be done, have everybody come back and say, okay, we're going to do it again and again. And the whole point is this is a networking chance. You're just randomly plopped into another room with people you may know, people you don't know. You can, and then I give you a topic. The topic for this one might be, how have you used ES modules in the past? But you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
What do we think about that? Does this sound dumb? Do we want to just give it a try?
I'll throw out, I like the idea. It might be a little hard to do like one-on-one force breakouts. Like
it's
maybe
very similar.
3 or 4 might be better, but yeah, because like it's that balance of if you get too many, you're going to have the loud people kind of take over the conversation. But if you have 2 people that aren't real outgoing, you know, it might be awkward. So
I've done it before with only 2 people. So one-on-one talking, and you know there's a time limit. You're done in exactly 3 minutes. I don't know. It kind of works. It is awkward. It is uncomfortable. So maybe we just try with 3. We say 3 is the magic number.
So what do you have in mind for like would this be like the first 10 minutes of?
No. This is the end.
The group.
This is anybody that wants to stick around after your presentation.
I see. I see.
Yep. This is like social time. Yeah. I will throw this out there too for anyone just joining us. I believe I'm still sharing my screen, right? Yeah. So this is a Stack Overflow question. Hopefully you guys can read it. If not, I'll read it to you. I'm trying to create a string, but I want it to encompass multiple lines of code, something like this. Okay. So if you actually go to the chat within our Zoom meeting here, or if you just go to that URL that's kind of highlighted right there, you can actually hop into this. As you see, I'm in here, Matt's in here, Trev. Trevor's in here, Tegan, Josh. A few people are in here already. You could just start typing in this thing and make this, like this dude is saying, he wants that to be a string. I don't know what language he's trying to do this in. I took a guess and called it JavaScript, but maybe it's not. I have no idea. This is, so artists do this, right? And we are crafts people. So it's important for you to continuously have some sort of brain teaser, something that keeps you thinking, right? So sketching, like what artists do every day. So that's what this is. This is just a little brain teaser activity to just for us to look at before we actually get things started. And there is a link to that in chat if anybody wants the link. So anyway, back to what I was saying. You guys think that sounds like something we can try? And I'll introduce it right when you're finished, Trevor, and I'll say, okay, guys, let's do this thing. Anybody wants to stick around? Sure. Whoever wants to bounce out, go for it. Just an experiment. Okay, cool. All right, we'll do that. Cool. Boy, I really wish that I was able to do music and screen share. It's kind of a bummer. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody has a solution for this in another language other than JavaScript, but it seems fairly, I mean, if you use backticks, you would get this in JavaScript, right? I don't really know what.
Yep.
There's another one here. This one's a little bit more involved. How do I hide a button text with CSS? Trying to hide the text following when I use hovers over a button. I don't really have too much experience with CSS, and I'm having difficulties doing this. Okay, cool. They just want to hide the text following in the button. So, who knows what this is, but what I will do is take this block, I'm going to dump it into our mutual text editor. And if anybody wants to take a crack at it, go for it. And put the link in the text editor. Cool. There you go. Hiding button text you wouldn't think would be too challenging.
Or span text, apparently.
Yeah. Well, it's a link to inside of a span. It has the text follow.
CSS is always challenging.
Bootstrap button.
Unfollow. So he's got unfollow here, but I don't really understand the reasoning. Oh, when the user hovers over the button, why would you want to hide the text? That seems odd to want to hide the text, but I know one very simple method is just turn the text color the same color as the background. Or you could, the advantage to that one though is if you completely remove the text, you then remove all of your height and width on the button. And so your button would collapse on you, right? So you have to turn it to a color so that it's still there. Or to begin with, you could absolutely position it and then just remove it or put the opacity off on it. I don't know if the button, I bet you the button would stay there if you just put the opacity on the button. Yeah. So this dude probably needs to wrap his text with that following within a span, and then just put the opacity on the span to nothing, to 0. Anybody come up with anything for the string? There you go. Hey, that makes sense. I mean, it would make sense if this were JavaScript. I have no idea what this dude's issue is. I do not plan on like replying back to this. I doubt this is an issue anymore. I clipped it, and I'm sure once this person posted it, they had second thoughts about that. Okay, for those of you just joining us, we'll probably start in a couple minutes here. So in the meantime, there is a chat panel that you can open up for this Zoom call, and inside there is a link to this collaborative text editor, and we are just pair programming and pair debugging some Stack Overflow questions.
You might need to add the link in there again, because anybody who's joined since you added it won't be able to see the history.
What, man?
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I can't see the link. I just
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I just sent it to Trevor only. Man, I hate that too. Send it to everyone. There you go, guys. I just spammed it out again. Yeah, there we go. More people coming in. Take a few more minutes yet before we get started. I will spam out this link one more time. For anybody that is interested, this is, there are 2 Stack Overflow questions here that we're looking at. I can add a third for funsies. This one says, how to execute slick next method in React slick carousel. So this one is probably a lot more involved. I will add that to our joint text editor, like way at the end. Oh my gosh, somebody's actually trying to thing while I'm trying to think. Okay. I just pasted it in the bottom of that. This is very buggy, by the way. Collab.js? Collab.js? I don't know what that is. I don't know. But whatever the heck this piece of software is, it's got the, there's a link to it in the chat, and you can join in on this fun if you would like. I will blast it out one more time. So yeah, so I don't know if anybody's ever used the Slick text editor, or not Slick text editor, Slick React Slick carousel, which is a very popular carousel in the front end world. I think this thing kind of does everything. They ported it over to React. I believe it used to be a jQuery library. I don't know. I'm sure I could figure out what this dude wants to do. I'm sure it's possible. How can anyone solve this? I think what we need to do is make our own joint code text editor, so that this is a little bit easier of a process. Okay, I think maybe now is a good time to get started. I haven't had to admit anyone to the Zoom call in a little while, so I think we can put this dude on hold. If anybody wants to keep messing around with that, go for it. Have at it. Feel free. I am done with these things though. So I'm gonna put them away, and I believe I'm also going to stop screen sharing. Okay, and get into the meeting. We're Okay.
Oh, there's the music's back.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, hello all. Hey everybody. This is Web Geeks. Oh, is that? Thanks, Steve. So this is not just Web Geeks. I'll apologize. I'll correct myself. This is a joint effort between Web Geeks and DSMJS. We teamed up to defeat COVID back in March, I think, and we've been doing joint meetings since everybody's gone virtual. And kind of helping each other out because this is hard, and yeah. So there are quite a few who I would call organizers, co-organizers in the Zoom call right now. There's Matt Travi, there's Josh Larson, there's Michael, and I think Tori is here too. Okay, cool. Yeah, and even Tegan is up there as well. So quite a few friends. If you're ever interested in helping us out, you have something that you want to hear us talk about, you want to get involved in some way, let us know. Reach out to any one of the organizers. Hit us up at DSMJS or DSM Web Geeks. They're two separate sites run by two separate groups, but we have similar overlap and interests there. Anyway, we're all user group in this large community, and there's enough to go around for everybody. So today we are using a Zoom client provided by Shift Interactive. We'll probably do that quite a bit. Any company is welcome to host or help out on organizing these events if you'd like. Shift Interactive is a consultancy. It's been in the Des Moines area for a very long time. They're always looking for talented developers. They run a lot of Ruby on Rails and JavaScript and all the fun stacks that I'm sure a lot of you are used to. So check them out if you're interested. Okay, so tonight we are going to have Trevor Richardson talk for us. And Trevor, if you are ready, I'm going to kill the music, and I'm going to make you the presenter.
Okay.
So let me just give you 1 second. Oh, and just forewarning, Trevor, this is just for you. You may at some point in time have somebody try to get into the meeting while you were host. Unfortunately, you don't normally can do that. So you may have to admit them. I wouldn't stress it. Yeah, well, sure, definitely. But I wouldn't stress it too much. But just a heads up.
Okay.
So now you are the host. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Okay, I think we're good. All right, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
I've got something weird going on here. Okay. All right. So I live up in Clear Lake, kind of between Des Moines and Minneapolis, and we got a bunch of ice last night. So if I either drop out or if we have a tree crash through our roof, somebody let me know. I can hear these branches, like with all the ice sitting on the branches, I can hear them rubbing the roof, unfortunately. So fun night tonight. Yes. All right. So as I said, I'm Trevor Richardson. I work full-time remote for a company called Gain Compliance in Des Moines. I lived in Altoona when I first started working there, and so that was kind of what had me there. But now we live up in Clear Lake, and I'm full-time remote even after COVID. I have been doing JavaScript development for probably about 5 years, so actually somewhat junior to probably a lot of people here. And let's see, what else would be interesting about me? I've got 2 kids, a boy and a girl, both less than 4, so we got plenty of entertainment here. Let's go ahead and dive in. Oh, and it just ate my mouse. Oh, this is fun. The exact problem I was concerned about. There we go. All right. So the first thing I want to say is I am not an expert with ES modules. We don't use them at Gain in production. So I don't, there's, all of us know that you only really start learning the details when you get it out into production, start having lots of users use it, run into all sorts of problems. So I do want to say that, but I follow the Node GitHub repo just because it's interesting to me, some of the changes that they put out there and how they make them and how they communicate and stuff like that. And so I do keep track of that. And I saw that they had enabled, or I guess it's no longer an experimental feature to use ES modules with Node. And so that like was kind of my first, oh, well, that's interesting. And then, so I started diving into that to learn a little bit more about that and what the implications are, that sort of thing. And that was why at this point I started to actually dive into this. And I originally planned to do this whole talk on the differences between what we normally use as ES modules in like regular development versus when you turn on modules in Node, what that actually looks like and the like slight variances. And I was going to do the whole talk based on that. But then as I dove in, I just realized there are a ton of details that even getting it into the browser, which has been out for probably about 5 years and pretty well supported, there's a lot of details even in that regard that I didn't know much about. And specifically for this user group, especially being Des Moines Web Geeks and JavaScript user group, I thought it would be I thought there would be some things that folks would be interested in, specifically in the browser usage of ES modules. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So before we dive much into this, let's just take a step back and say that JavaScript was not originally designed to have a module system. And so anybody that comes in from another language, you kind of expect this sort of thing where you can separate out your code into related functionality and sorts of things like that. So you can have a better control of like application design as a whole to give better like module separation, that sort of thing. And that wasn't originally part of JavaScript. However, lately that was added. And so that some of the folks that have been around the JavaScript ecosystem have probably dealt with a lot more than I have. So when I came into JavaScript, there was already common.js and ES module, at least syntax-wise, ES modules was coming down the pipe. And so a lot of people have probably dealt with maybe UMD or AMD. We're not going to talk about that stuff at all. There's actually still people that use those. Some of you actually might at work. But we're going to talk about a little bit of common.js, but primarily ES modules here. So common.js, the big thing that was kind of eye-opening to me is, coming into JavaScript only 5 years ago, to me, Node_modules was essentially part of JavaScript. Like, however wrong that is for everyone, like in my head, Node modules were just kind of part of using JavaScript. And when you're using common.js, because common.js was built as a Node module system, specifically Node.js module system, not part of the JavaScript language, they can make lots of assumptions in it when you're importing common.js modules. So something like if I import Lodash, I can just say Lodash. I don't have to say Lodash.js. I don't have to say Node_modules /Lodash. All that stuff are assumptions that Node can make. But when you're in the browser, you can't make that sort of assumption. You don't have those default paths to go look at. We are going to get into some small bits of like variances to that in ways that you can help those problems. But ultimately that drives some differences with Node and ES modules as used in the browser. And one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is like probably the biggest assumption that Node can make is your files are going to be right next to your code somewhere. It's on your file system. So it can synchronously read your files. The image that you're seeing at the bottom there is written by Lynn Clark. She does lots of really neat just has a good graphical way of describing things at an easy level. And I would highly recommend, if you're interested in this stuff, go out and read that. Even though it was written, I believe, in 2018, it's still very relevant. All the pieces are there, and it's just a great way to describe how they work. So the image that you're looking at right there, it's kind of describing the primary aspect of common.js that's different from ES modules, and that being when you're parsing a standard JavaScript file with common.js or in Node, its default is to find a require statement, hop over to the file that's being required in, and literally run that code. So you're actually executing that, and then only then after it has executed it will it jump back to the original main.js file here, and it will. You have the ability to then look at anything that was set on module.exports and then import those things. And so that's how the Node module ecosystem works. But if you imagine in the browser, if we are synchronously loading and executing things, that's not a great way to go about resolving modules, because you know, all of us know you have lots of modules. If you're doing that in the browser, you're making lots of round trips to the server, which isn't ideal. One other thing I wanted to point out here is that this is still incredibly popular for what gets exported as the main API for libraries, because libraries oftentimes are Node, but then we also use things like Webpack, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, so that you can actually sometimes ship common.js libraries all the way to the browser. Okay, so ECMAScript modules or ES modules, the big thing is you can ship them directly to the browser. So with that small script statement that I have in there, it will start parsing that as an ES module. It will read through import statements and go out and try to fetch those things from the server, which is pretty awesome when you're just like getting a project started up. You can use the same syntax that you're using, for all your stuff, all your dev stuff. But the big difference and variance from where common.js is rather than the import statements working by hopping over to that other file and executing it, it works in 3 different phases. So the first phase is when you can kind of see a little bit of this down in the image there, also by Lynn Clark. It is finding an import, and then it goes out to fetch any imports that are made there, all in the hopes of creating these module records. So it's not executing the files in there, it's only parsing it to the point that it can get imports and exports out of those modules that you're requiring in. The next step is then it will try to match up those imports and exports and create a, what's it called? A module, I want to say a module instance. That feels wrong. Essentially, it's starting to bind up all the places, starting to build some slots in memory where you can start putting variables, things like that. And then the final phase is to actually execute the code where it will slot in all the variables and everything. It actually executes that phase, which is what common.js does right away. All right, so I want to show just a very basic demo of using this, just to show that you can do it, and it's pretty awesome. So all I have here is a web page. I'm going to refresh here so you can see it. And this is all I'm doing here. I'm essentially just shipping this directly. The important part is script type equals module. So then you can see as soon as it finds this source, it's going to pull that in like normal. And that's no variance from a standard script. But then as soon as it jumps into here, because we have told it, execute this as a module, it's finding this ESM2 import, and it immediately goes out and tries to fetch that one as well. The important piece that, let's see. One important piece that I want to show an alternative to is, well, I guess probably worth pointing out before we step away from that. All the way from this ESM2, all I'm exporting is this. This was loaded from ESM2. And then I'm lifting it all the way here and just appending it to the DOM. And you can see that on the left here in the DOM being drawn out. So it is working. But then, so to show a little bit more about those 3 different steps, I'm going to try to import a common.js module. So I'm going to refresh this. and very similar page that I did before. I'm importing a different module. So this one I called ESM importing common.js. And so this is literally the exact same code, but just pulling something else in. And so syntactically, very little has changed from what we did in that first example. However, this next one that I called common.js, all it's exporting is this exports.hello, and it can't pull it in. So you see in the browser, down in the bottom here, I'm highlighting. Hopefully it's not too hard for you guys to see this. And uncaught syntax error, and it says, it's important to note the requested module doesn't provide an export named hello. And so that's that step of it's trying to match up imports and exports. So when I pull this guy in here, I'm trying to import hello, and it's not finding that because I'm not in ES module sense, in ES module syntax. I'm not doing that, and it's telling me that. Okay, so I'm going to hop back over to terminal, and I'm going to change that file to uncomment this, and I'm going to properly export it with ES module syntax. So even though I'm still calling this common.js, I am importing valid. Let's see. Let me hop back over. It's starting to eat my screen again. Wonderful. Try this. I'm actually going to share just my window. And that is not appearing. This is fun. Okay. Let's do this, and this should work better. All right. All right. Are you guys still seeing the window now? Is that better? Okay,
yeah, cool. We can see your window. Yep.
Cool. Okay. So if I go ahead and refresh this, you notice that the error that it has spit out is different. So this one says exports is not defined. So it's no longer telling us that hello is not found. So it couldn't match those up. It's telling us exports is not defined. So it has started to actually execute this, and it realizes exports is not defined because this isn't common.js, so there is no exports or module.exports. So it's barking at us because of that. I found that really interesting, so I thought I would do a quick demo about this. All right, so how do we actually use these in the browser? From what I know, and I'm actually interested if we go into the small group sessions after this, if people are using these in production, what problems they're running into, stuff like that. From what I have understood from the research that I did, the traffic that goes through the web right now, the percentage of scripts that are pulled in as modules is not high. So I'd be interested if people do have some experience with these, what problems you have run into. The other side of this is common.js. So I feel like it's very common for people to be using common.js, but as I show in this little script down here, it's much more common for us to use something like Webpack, create a big bundle that doesn't have to do any imports at all. We're just essentially inline, like a more organized way of inlining all of our scripts to some extent. Clearly more details than that, but effectively that's what we're doing. So we don't have to do imports. We don't have to use modules to actually pull this off. So why actually give this talk right now? And for me, probably the biggest thing was seeing that Node had full support for it now. It's more attractive. You can write your code the same in both places. And there has been browser support now for quite some time. So that's definitely attractive. HTTP2 has been supported, I believe, I want to say 2015 is when the spec came out. And so if you run a server as HTTP2, it gives you a few things that make modules look much more attractive than they would have before. So if you're using HTTP1 and you go make a request for a script, it's going to do a full round trip. Even if you have lots of them, it's going to do lots of round trips. Now you might be able to open up, browsers have limits on the number of connections you can open with a server, but we'll say it's 5. It's more commonly around 10, but the main point is you're having to make round trips and wait until those are back before you go request the next one. HTTP2 has something called multiplexing. So you can actually have multiple requests being sent and received on the same connection. So that's one big thing with HTTP2. There's header compression, which also just makes anything that you're shipping through multiple requests are less heavy. But then another big thing with this is server push. And server push allows you to essentially say, if I go out and request an HTML file, and as the developer, I know that once the browser starts parsing that, it's just going to have to follow up and request 4 different scripts. I can just go ahead and push those. So the browser doesn't have to then follow up to make those requests. It'll just have those right in its push cache. So you don't have to make those multiple round trips. And so I guess in summary, the ability to use HTTP2 it's much easier to saturate your connection with true data. And if you're using modules, you're going to be probably bringing in lots more things, which really makes some of that more important. So you're not having to wait for all these round trips to happen. The next piece is module bundlers can actually now export, some of them, not all of them, can now export ES modules. And we'll get into a little bit of this later on, some of the details on that. But the big thing is there is still some value to using a bundler, even when you're using modules. There's lots of trade-offs there, but there's still some value there. The bundlers are made to productionize code, make it faster, make it smaller with tree shaking, and those things are still relevant here. Module preload on a link element. So if you add a link into your head content, for example, and you use a rel module preload, and you give that a source of a script, as soon as the browser hits that, it can start loading that. So you can do that before it's actually going to hit the script. But also if you're using modules and you know your hierarchy that it's going to have to traverse through, you can just tell the browser, go request all these things right away. So one of the a little bit more intricate details of this specifically is it's not actually in the spec that a browser has to go and traverse the hierarchy for all children of a script. If you import it this way, if you tell it this link rel preload, so it's still worth adding all of the others in there, which is kind of unfortunate, but browsers don't actually have to. I believe Chrome and Firefox both do, but just another detail that has to be taken care of with that. One major benefit of this module preload is you're telling the browser that it's what you're going to be pulling in is a module. So very similar to a script type module, because you're telling it link module preload, it can then shove that off of the main thread so you're not render blocking, but it can get it all ready as a module. So in that, it creates like the module record that we showed a few slides ago. It can do all that pre-processing for you. So as soon as the browser hits that on an actual script tag, it can just pull it right in. Or I guess not necessarily always a script tag, could be another import somewhere else. It can pull that right in rather than going out and fetching it. The last piece, this is more of a tooling developer experience sort of thing, but it's important to note, very similar to how you would do in Node. So I'm highlighting here, import Lodash. There's no Lodash.js. There's no, like we said earlier, like the Node modules, all that stuff is not there. And if you add this import map and you ship that to the client, it's going to use this. Anytime it sees the key Lodash, it's going to replace that with this. So if you have your server set up to be able to serve things directly out of Node modules, you can write your code for the browser very similar to how you write your Node code. So you don't have to do all this weird, you don't have to fully write out Node modules or things like that. So I thought that was pretty sweet. Okay, so next we are going to take a look at a server push demo. This was pretty neat when I was fiddling with this. So I am running this with the Happy server, which just has a plugin for HTTP2. And then as soon as you do that, server push just becomes you literally on your request for whatever it is. In this case, the server push HTML file I have here, which I'll show that to you. This is the exact same we looked at on the first demo that was just using raw ES modules, but instead I'm pushing the follow-up ESM1 and ESM2. And so there's nothing fancy that I did with the server. It's literally just using what works right out of the box with HTTP2. So if we go look at the original demo that had these same files, you look at the timing, there was, let's kick that out of there. There's a little bit of processing on the follow-up file. So the ESM1, ESM2, it goes out and fetches those. There's a little bit of processing that happens there. For the network, waiting, that sort of thing. But instead, when we push those, there's no processing. It's effectively just the parsing that it takes, and that's it, which is really neat. So if you have lots of files that you need to do, you need to have the client know about, rather than letting it decide, like have to parse through the HTML, finding the imports, diving through import. You can just push them directly to the browser. And then its job is to then just parse it. And you will see that Chrome actually has full support for this in the dev tools. So you can just see that the push was happening. And I believe there's some interesting stuff in the timing as well. Yes. So it's a first-class citizen here for looking at what's going on with a push. Okay. So with this, should we just module all the things? And I obviously probably not. One of those things I think everyone knows. Lots of details here. So as soon as you start going to look at ES modules in the browser, and if they are production ready, you're going to see references to this Google research that was done, I want to say also back in 2018. And they researched these 4 different cases. So unbundled with that module preload with those links. So the browser can go out and request them all at the same time. The bundle, but with bundling, but unoptimized, and then bundled and optimized. And you can clearly see that bundling is better here. And what Google came away with is if you have less than 100 modules, and those modules are less than 5 levels deep, so all the round trips that it'll have to go and import and fetch. If it's less than 5 levels deep, then it's probably worth considering using modules, is what they came away with for the research here. But I linked to an article at the very end. I have a references slide. And it goes into, actually a guy on the Chrome team is pointing out that what they didn't do with this research is figure out using modules, but optimizing the code. So you can use a bundler, but you're not creating a single bundle. You're creating ES modules that have just been performance optimized. So this article goes into a lot of detail there that I think is very relevant for a lot of people that are shipping entire apps. So lots of libraries, all that stuff. And so don't just read the Google stuff from 2018 and say, nope, they're not ready. Because that was, when I first went in there, it sure seemed that way. The other piece that they didn't consider, and they actually point out, like, we're not going to consider this. There's lots of details. Every use case is different, is caching. So one of the main benefits, if you're using modules, is going to be caching, because if you separate literally everything you're doing, you separate it all into its own files, if you have return visitors, they don't have to request all but just a few files that have changed. And that's hugely valuable. And that piece is not covered at all in the Google research there, by choice. But yeah, so if you're digging into it, definitely stay cautious of those sorts of things. The other piece is libraries. Right now, libraries, we're going to take a look at an example in the next demo, but things like Lodash and lots of libraries that you use are not necessarily optimized to be used as modules in the browser. And that can mean module depth, that can mean number of modules, that sort of thing. We're going to look at how to import Lodash. And I'm not importing all of Lodash. I'm importing a single piece of Lodash. And let's see, all I am doing here, I'm pulling in the script that I created, which then imports Lodash merge from a tool called unpackage, which is essentially a front end for NPM that you can just directly import as a URL. So I'm importing Lodash merge. You can see I'm not cheating. I am actually using it and stuffing it into the DOM here. But what you saw when I requested that, I'll go ahead and do it again. Watch how many files get pulled in. You're making all of those round trips. And so you either have to figure something out to make that more efficient, or you figure out how to crawl all of Lodash and then server push it, for example, would be another option. But there is a tool called Snowpack that we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. But one of the offshoots of this Snowpack tool that's primarily based around developing, so like the actual engineering aspect of ES modules, like hands to keyboard. But then one of the offshoots of that was this SkyPack. And so SkyPack will make things more module first class for libraries. It will pre-bundle them for you as a single file and make it so that their exports are valid ES modules. So I just changed that to import this directly from SkyPack. So you can see there, and we'll go out and run that same thing again. And you see it's still working. I'm still doing the Lodash merge, but yet there's very few files being pulled in here. So it might be bigger. We might be pulling a lot more in those single files, but it gives you kind of that nice middle ground of maybe I want to use all of my ES modules that I'm doing at development time. Maybe I want to ship all of those because they're less than 5 modules deep and they're less than 100 modules total. But then all of your libraries, those probably aren't going to change that often. So if you go ahead and bundle those once, you can just ship that to the client. And then if those don't change, they can be cached, which is pretty sweet. Okay, so in summary, there's lots of things. As you can see, this is only scratching the surface, and this hasn't even touched on differences with Node and stuff like that. But there's lots of details that you can get into with this. So if you're going to use them in production, it's worth doing your research, essentially. I actually just realized that you guys probably didn't see my code change because I went back to sharing a single browser window. Shoot. Sorry about that. I was actually live changing that code for you. I'm not cheating.
You still described it well.
Cool, good. Okay, so the biggest thing that you can, or one major thing you can just know right away, if you are not using ES modules at development time, it's strongly worth considering. If you're using Webpack or Rollup or something like that, Percy, is it Percy? Parcel. If you're doing any sort of bundling, bundlers get very good when they can use ES modules for things like tree shaking because of the static import-export analysis that it can do. They're getting a little bit, Node's actually doing some interesting stuff with common.js that they're trying to sort of support named exports, but there's a lot of details still being hashed out from what I understand there. If you have a small site or you're just getting started, they're actually kind of fun to use because you don't have to do a whole bunch of fancy stuff to make it work. You can just use your imports directly in the browser, and I find that really cool. If you have a big site, probably worth considering bundling just your libraries. So you can do, and that's what this, we'll talk about it in just a little bit, but this Snowpack tool is purely focused around this sort of thing. It's more focused on dev time stuff, but if you have Rollup, for example, you can choose to export certain things in different bundles, and you can export them as ES modules that are directly consumable in the browser, but yet they're fully optimized, which is also neat. If you do, one thing we didn't talk about, if you need to support older browsers, there is a, you can set a no module attribute. And if that browser does not support ES modules, it will then use that. So if you want to just export your old fashioned Webpack bundle as one file, you can then do that safely. There's some details I want to say, surprise, surprise, with Internet Explorer. That if you still have to support that, there's some weird, like it looks like it supports it, but in certain cases it doesn't. So if you fall in that category, probably worth diving in there to figure out what the differences are. Another thing, like we looked at with Lodash, if you bundle your own libraries, if you have internal libraries that you're creating and deploying to NPM or something, worth considering making them shallow or maybe even a single file as a exported API of in the ES module syntax. So then they just make themselves more friendly to browser consumption. And finally, there's this tool that I've been mentioning called Snowpack. This is their website. Snowpack is focused primarily on dev time use of ES modules. So they take care of bundling all of your imports. So if you do an NPM install for React or React DOM, you instead, using their tooling, you would go through Snowpack to do that install, and immediately that right away, it will then go and bundle that for you and put it into this web_modules directory that's a standard ES module that you can consume directly. So their whole thing is, at dev time, I don't want to be using Webpack to rebundle everything. So even with hot modules and things like that, there's still some bit of effort that has to be done by your tooling to actually build that bundle so that you can ship it to the browser. Whereas this tool is sort of flipping that on its head and saying, as soon as I install a library, I know that I'm going to build support directly for the browser right there at that time. So then all of your as soon as if you're running it in the browser, if it detects that you have imported one of your local files, it will ship that in a way that can be directly consumable. So you're effectively only like Babelifying, as would be an analogy, on its way down to the client essentially. And so as your project grows, your file count grows, you're not using Webpack that gets longer and longer and longer as the project grows. You're literally growing with your like you just are well, I'll say transpiling, but not really. It's just pulling in your changed files, not a whole bundle, and that's pretty cool. That is all that I have today. We could get into the node use of modules. There's lots of little details that you could think to yourself, wow, I'm using ES modules, and I just happen to be transpiling them so that I can use them in the browser, or bundling them so I can use them in the browser. But really, I'm using ES modules. And I think a lot of people are using something that looks like ES modules, but then as soon as you flip the flag to start trying to consume those as true modules, you start realizing all the details that are different. You can't pull in certain things. Your common.js libraries that you're using have to be worked in a way that's supported. There's lots of little details there that need to be figured out. It definitely seems like it's getting there, but even with that, there's lots of things that you have to take care of when you're trying to use them directly in Node. That is it for me. These are some of the references of the research that I dug into. Lots of good stuff there. The very last one is the one that I was talking about that's from a Chrome team member that's was saying, even though this research said don't do this, there's other things that they didn't cover that's worth considering, that your use case might be different. So if you're interested in this stuff, I would highly recommend that article to just kind of see a breadth of information. That is it for me. Let's see, what am I to do here? Do I need to like give up ownership?
Yeah. If you can switch back to me, unless anybody has any quick questions, and you can stay host just in case anybody wants to see like reference of your slides or anything. I don't know if anybody wants to just shout out if they have a question for Trevor.
I've got a question. Trevor, that previous slide where you had import map, is that?
Yep.
Is that in all browsers?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's like the most recent thing that I covered in there. That's the most recent support thing that has been developing.
Okay.
But I'm not even going to say. I'm not 100% confident.
Right. If anybody else has anything.
You mentioned Webpack a number of times. I haven't had a chance. I'm curious, have you tinkered with Webpack 5's support for exporting ES modules? I think that was one of the
I have not tinkered with it. It's still considered experimental, I believe.
Okay.
So they haven't fully said that that's like good to go.
Got it. Because that's
Logan, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you were saying about the low adoption rate, like, to me, that's probably the most likely, is there's so many people using Webpack, but without it supporting exporting both, and then like, including both script tags, I'm sure that'll have a big impact once that's available.
Yep. One thing I wanted to say, Logan, Snowpack does use that import map, and they claim to have all of their stuff supported in what they call modern browsers. So it's possible. I'm still not going to promise that it's all.
Okay, yeah, I'm just kind of looking at that now. Kind of interesting, because it would solve the caching problem that's associated with using modules natively. You could solve it with import map. Anyway.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Oh, and I didn't even get into it, but HTTP 2 push, even though it sounds awesome, there are lots of things that you caching essentially is not first class. It doesn't just work for you. So the current best solution, to my understanding, is they'll actually use a cookie that gets passed back and forth between the browser and the server to say these modules have already been pushed. So then the browser will know not to request them. Otherwise, you're just going to force it on the browser. You're going to push all of them no matter what, even if it's already cached.
Right. If we don't have any more questions, you want to relinquish host?
Yep. Alrighty.
All right. Cool. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all again. Thank you so much, Trevor. That was a dope talk. Thank you very much. Hit us, Slack us your slides and DSM.js and DSM Web Geeks. We'll try to tweet it out, post it on our blogs, whatever we can. Get you some eyeballs that way. Okay, y'all. I should give a shout out too for everybody else who's still in the room. December 14th, it's kind of awesome that Logan is here with us, because December 14th, he will be giving a talk on Rust. So should be pretty cool. Please join us then. Watch out for any notification on Twitter, Facebook, what have you, DSM.js and DSM Web Geeks for any future events that we have. Now, we're going to try something that we have not tried as long as we've been all virtual. Okay, so bear with us. This may be kind of awkward, maybe even a little uneasy, but here's what happens. So I have the power to split all 12 of y'all up into groups, and I'm going to exercise that power, and I will give you each 3 minutes to figure it out. Okay, you're going to be in a group with people that you don't know, and you are going to just make it work. If you want to bounce out, you're more than welcome to bounce out. That is totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to start a timer. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I'm going to throw a topic in the chat. It'll kind of like awkwardly jump across your screen of this is the thing you should be talking about. Do your best to make everyone feel welcome. Please play nice and just meet and talk to somebody for the next 30 minutes. Have at it. Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. I was about to head out, but I'll stick around for this first round.
Sure,
anyway,
awesome.
How have you been doing?
Good. I've been keeping busy for sure. We're definitely excited for you to speak next month. Got
awesome.
Quite a bit of interest in it already. Yeah, I
cool.
think it ought to be a good topic.
Yeah, I'm super excited. When you told me that I needed to keep it to 45 minutes, now I'm like, oh man, what am I going to talk about? I got to like make it concise and.
Well, I mean, in the past we used to go pretty well over that. I guess it'd be all right if you run long. That's all right. It's just kind of weird on this format.
Yeah, I think 45 minutes is plenty to be sitting in a remote session when that's a lot to ask people. So no, but now it's just I just have to think of the best parts that I want to share. So I've been trying to think about that. We can make the break down.
That's always a good position to be in, for sure. To have to cut down rather than have to add more.
Yeah. No,
cool.
good.
So hey, what I don't know, what company do you work at? What is it that you're in Des Moines? Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm in Des Moines still. I am a software engineering coach at Principal now.
Ah, that's right.
So,
okay, cool.
I'm doing that, and then I also still have my side business that I do, like custom software, and mostly Rails development with that.
Okay.
So I learned Rails a couple years ago because I knew it's like, well, I mean, you know, like that's the most productive you can be with of any language or framework. So
yeah, funnily enough, we just for like a company thing, we just watched a documentary on Why the Lucky Stiff. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's this very weird internet personality that's kind of pioneered Rails like early in the beginning and made a whole bunch of like Nokigira. You use Nokigira, right?
Oh yeah.
So he originated the first incarnation of that, and a million, like not a million, but a whole bunch of other tools that we all use today, and then he's just gone from the internet. He's a very, very interesting character. Why the Lucky Stiff is his name. Yeah.
Why the Lucky Stiff? Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, he's worth checking out. I was going to say too, like at Shift, we are right now doing a project with Principal. So I've met quite a few developers over there. I don't know how
what
well.
Are you guys doing with them?
Some like it's kind of like a startup small thing called Simply Principal. No, yeah, Simply Retirement.
And what does that entail? I mean, is that like?
It seems very startup like to me. It's essentially we built a website, a marketing site for this piece. Yeah, I don't know too much about it other than that, really. We got like 10 seconds left, though.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. I'll have to track that down to see.
Yeah.
The Principal's huge, so like...
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've been over there a couple times. It is huge. Okay, we'll see ya.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Breakout session, there it goes. Okay. Okay, and we're back. Everybody's back. Yay! You're all muted again. Just to let you know, it automatically does that. Okay, so that was fun. I hope you all had fun. That was just something I wanted to test out, and maybe we'll do it again. I don't know. If you dug it, that's awesome. If not, give us some feedback. Hit us up on Twitter. DSMJS, I believe you definitely have Twitter. Yes, of course you do. And so does DSM Web Geeks. Those are our handles.
Ours is confusing though. While we're dsmjs.com, our Twitter is Des Moines JS. So find us at the right place, I guess.
So
Okay,
Justin,
cool.
we didn't actually see any like a question flash.
Dang. Yeah.
Did everyone
so I'm
else?
new at this. Nah, probably not. I'm new at this. I thought that it was going to do that. I'll have to figure that out for next time.
It
We had
did
plenty to
come up
talk
for
about.
us.
It was fine, but
It did come up for us, and thankfully Tori was smart enough to grab a screenshot while it was still there. So
Yeah, it goes quick. There's not a whole lot of control I have over that messaging. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Also digging the music, Justin.
Oh yeah. This is jazz hop anime beats, lo-fi music you can find on Spotify mix. Okay, y'all. I think we can cut it, and hopefully you guys can hit us up next time, next month, around the same time. Bye-bye, everybody.
See y'all.
See ya.